Hi everyone, this is Richard. So why don't we put together everything we've done and try to practice our skills in programming, okay? So many times we just give ourselves some problems, solve them, and it helps us think through problems and also learn new concepts with programming as well. And I'll show you a few things that I learned just since the last video. So the practice is create a Fibonacci sequence with n characters long, and the second part is determine the nth character in the sequence. And the n is not the same number, so like 10 characters long and the fifth character in the sequence. And by definition, a Fibonacci sequence it's a series of numbers, starts with a 0 and a 1 by definition, and the following value is the sum of the previous two numbers. So 0, 1, and then the next number is 0 plus 1 equals 1, 1 plus 1 equals 2, 1 plus 2 equals 3, and so on, okay? And so that's the sequence. So we're asked to go ahead and create a list. And so it would be list, Fibonacci list, new list, starts with 0 and 1, right? And then we're going to do system console write. Notice write, not write line. Write line, when you do write line, it will print it out and then go to the next line. If it's just write, it'll continue on the same line, okay? Enter how many digits you want the Fibonacci sequence, and we'll see that in just a little bit. String num equals system console read line, all right? And then we'll go ahead and change that into a new number here, okay? An actual integer. And then I'm going to say var I could have put int I, right, equals 0. I is less than n minus 2. Why n minus 2? Because already in the list I have a 0 and a 1. So I already have 2 characters in the Fibonacci sequence. So if I want 8 characters, I have to do 8 minus 2, which is 6. So it would be 6 more characters in addition to the 2. That's why, okay? I could have put I equals 2 already, but I chose not to, okay? So I is less than n minus 2 and I plus plus. And so every time it loops around, it's going to loop around the number of times that you put in n. It's going to loop around, and it's going to add a character every single loop. And it's going to add Fibonacci list I and I plus 1. So when it loops the first time, I equals 0, right? So I equals 0, Fibonacci list 1, I would be 0 and 1. So the first one, add 0 plus 1. The second time it loops, it'll be 1. So it'll be 1 and 2, I, 1 and 2. It'll be 1 and 2. It'll add on the character 2, and so on, okay? And until it finishes the loop, then it will finish the construction of the Fibonacci sequence, all right? Then we'll just print it out. What is in the Fibonacci sequence? So we'll say for each var I in Fibonacci list, and we can reuse the I right here and here. They mean different things because as soon as you get out of the curly brackets, the variable gets deleted from memory, right? So we can redeclare it. I could put int I also in Fibonacci list. And then system.console write, not write line, write, and I'm going to put a little space in between so it just keeps listing them all the way through across. I could have done the $I with a space right here, right? I could have done that also. That would have been just as good. Then I'll do system, the second part, determine the nth character in the sequence. Enter the nth position for the value you want. And then I'm going to say system console read line right inside here. And it's going to be able to read that. Notice I declared it already here. So I don't need to redeclare it. I just need to reassign the value. And I could have done the n equals num, but I decided just to go ahead and parse it right here. Int.parse num. So this number in the Fibonacci sequence will be displayed, okay? I'm assuming the person who is running this program understands that it starts with 0, 1, 2, not 1, 2, 3. I hope so. If I could have written on the console write line, please be aware that the first character is a 0 position, just to help the user out. So let's just see how this goes. Okay, how many digits do you want in the Fibonacci sequence? Let's see, 14. And it plays them all out. Enter the nth position for the value you want. This could be a little bit better. I'm not great into appearances. As long as it functions, okay? Nth position and the value you want. Notice the cursor is down here because we did right line. If we did right, it would have been here. But we did right line, so it's down here. So 7th. The 7th position all the way is going to be 13. All right, and that's what that is. And so that's the exercise that we did, okay? Now, there's a couple things that can happen. We could potentially, like, write a wrong... If you enter the wrong character, like it's not a number, and you cannot write... For example, let's just run this again. So there are some problems here, right? So what if the user mistyped and put this instead? There would be an error and it would break. There are ways to prevent that from happening. We're going to get in that a little bit later. That's getting a little bit more complicated though, okay? So just for now, that's how we create the Fibonacci list. Practice things like this, at least I do, on a regular basis, just so that you can keep your skills up. You learn new things like the right line, the right, things like that, okay? And constantly I do this to remind myself, how do I write this out? How are the ways in which I can make this a little bit better and more efficient? All right, thanks.